For example, my name is Abiodun. I'm joining from Abuja, Nigeria. I'm a product manager. Hi, Edmond. Hi, Sandra. Can you tell us where you're joining from? Comment section. Your name, where you're joining from. Thank you. Hi, from Lagos. All right. And you can put that in the comment section. While we're doing that, we'll be recording this call so that people who join late can watch it later, much later. We'll also have the replay up on our YouTube channel. Your name, where you're joining from, how is the weekend going? Are you having a swell time? Some folks are at work. Some are working from home. While some are dreaming of putting up the Christmas trees. Some are thinking of Christmas movies. You know the drill. Yeah. All right. Nobody's putting where they're joining from. I can't see. Luatose, thank you. Where are you joining from? Thank you, Sandra from Chatham. I hope I pronounced that properly. Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So today is another episode of Bit and Bytes, powered by Techlytics. Techlytics is a technology workforce development and consulting organization. We are dedicated to empowering ambitious professionals and businesses with the essential skills needed to thrive in the ever-evolving world of technology. We have a strong focus on preparing professionals for the future of work. We have successfully trained and mentored over 3,000 fellows across various educational technology institutions and corporate settings. Our specialized training programs primarily revolved around data analytics and low-code or no-code development. Techlytics, as a consulting company, offers tech consulting to startups and enterprises alike on digitization and product management. All right. With the evolution of work, especially in the wake of COVID-19, we would all agree that there's been a change in the way we work, where we work, and what we do. There's been an increased trend in the demand for new skills, both technical and non-technical skills, to fulfill emerging roles in today's workplace. The skills that employers value and rely upon are changing. In turn, there's been a skills gap that employers struggle to fill by, they struggle to hire appropriately trained workers, leaving many roles open and unfulfilled in organizations. And that is where Techlytics comes in. Techlytics provides on-demand online courses to equip young professionals with the necessary skills to integrate and succeed in a tech or non-tech role in the workplace. This is achieved in partnership with other practicing professionals such as Temiloluwa today to provide best-in-class course content for the global market. Now, about today's program. Today, we are having Bits and Bytes. Bits and Bytes is an engaging and enlightening monthly tech series hosted by seasoned professionals. We delve into the world of technology as it decodes complex concepts, explore cutting-edge trends, and offer insights into diverse array of subjects ranging from artificial intelligence, data analytics, product management, and no-code technology. Now, the journey so far. Formerly, Techlytics was known as the Rainmaker Online. We started as a YouTube channel known as the Rainmaker Online. It was the primary focus was on Microsoft Excel tutorial, and this was in May 2020. We had 88 students from the Rainmaker Online. Some of the old videos are still online, even as we speak. So Techlytics formally launched in on February 25th, 2022. Now, since we've launched, we've had 778 sign-ups, 103 lecture completions, 30 course completions, 111 active students, and a total of 278 YouTube subscribers. Techlytics is led by Oluwatayo Winkule. Tayo is an ex-banker, a chartered banker, a certified Microsoft Excel specialist, and certified SafeE practitioner. She has a proven track record of breaking complex concepts to relatable bits, making the learning process engaging and accessible to learners at all levels. Through her engaging teaching methods, she ensures that learners grasp the subject matter effectively and apply it confidently in real-world scenarios. We have other members of the team, such as myself. There's Jedida is also a product manager, Mary, our graphic designer, and Adenike, our data analyst. Today on Bits and Bytes, we're hosting Temiloluwa Jokotola. Temiloluwa is a cybersecurity specialist who has worked with two of the big four consulting firms. He has helped organizations improve their cybersecurity posture across several industries. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and a master's in applied cybersecurity from Queen's University, UK. Temiloluwa has been involved in several projects cutting across vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, maturity assessment and cyber strategy, ISO implementation support, data protection audit and privacy impact assessment, breach assessment and incident recovery, cyber crisis simulation exercise, cyber due diligence, IT audit and control assessment. He is currently a cybersecurity assistant manager at the foremost KPMG. So today, join me to welcome Temiloluwa Jokotola as he talks on Demystifying Cybersecurity, a beginner's guide. So the next voice will be Temiloluwa. Temiloluwa, you're welcome on board.
All right. Thank you so much, Abiodun, for that. Can we hear me? Just want to confirm. Can we hear me right clearly?
Yes, I can hear you, Timmy.
Oh, great. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm just go ahead and just share my screen. Moment. Wow, a lot of thumbs up. Thank you. All right. So while we wait for presentation, thank you, Techlytics, for the platform and the opportunity, just to share my thoughts on cybersecurity, demystifying, cybersecurity, some of the concepts, the myths we've had, right, over time. I think as a starter, I'd just like to put out a disclaimer. So as we proceed in the session, the thoughts, the ideas or my perspective, right, they are, solely mine, and they in no way do they represent the ideas, the thoughts of any organization I've worked with in the past, I currently work with or will work with right now. Yeah, so I think that's great, 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 great. Yeah.
Yes.
So today, thank you. So we'll be speaking briefly about demystifying cybersecurity. So there are many, or there are several, made several concepts, several ideas we have about cybersecurity. So what we're trying to do today is to demystify those things, right? I hear, oh, you need to be a developer, you need to be an expert, software engineer to be an expert in cybersecurity. Not totally, right? Um, these are some of the things we're talking about. Um, so worked across different industries, worked with clients in um, FSI, that's what we typically call the banks, insurance companies, mortgage, um, oil and gas, ENRs, upstream, downstream, um, telcos. So the typical telecommunication companies we have. Then IGH worked with a few government organizations in a consultant perspective or advisory role. Um, CNM, consumer market, and then hospitality, interestingly. So today, basically, we'll just be looking at an internet minute. So when we say an internet minute, we'll be having just a quick grasp into what happens on the internet in 1 minute. So we can pull together the data across the internet in just 60 seconds. You'll be marveled at the amount of data. And obviously, with this data comes its own risk. We'll also be looking at the need for cybersecurity, right? So as the risk increases, there's also need to be safe. So cybersecurity comes in, and that is quite linked to the role cybersecurity professionals play. And as I mentioned earlier, there are diverse roles. There are cybersecurity professionals that do not write a single line of code. They've never written one. They will never write one, right? Also, looking at the talent gap, because as the threats keep increasing, there's also opportunity for us to become cybersecurity professionals. There's the gap that we need to fill. Briefly, we'll just be talking about how do you want to start if you're looking at starting in cybersecurity, where do you go into, and a few cybersecurity awareness and best practices that we should be aware of as individuals. So just looking at this, this was from, the 2023 data, right? And when we look at this, this is in every minute of a single day. So I've probably been speaking for like 5 minutes. So it means in the last 5 minutes, when you look at the internet, the amount of data that has passed, right, the internet, or that has traversed the internet, is 5 times of what we can see here approximately. So this is in every 60 seconds, 16.2 million texts are sent, right? Every 60 seconds, 231 emails are sent, right? We have 6 million people shopping online on the average every 60 seconds. We have 12.5K ride shares taken. So the likes of Uber, Bolt, InDrive, across the world, right? 12.5. So people are making requests every single minute. Every single minute. Now, 4.95 billion social media users globally. So when you look at the population, right? So the number of users across social media, it's not 4.95 million, it's billion, right? We also have 15.14 billion IoT connected devices as of 2023. So when we say IoT devices, IoT basically means Internet of Things, and it can be as basic as even your fridge, for example, your smart blender, your smart lights. I mean, just looking at the things or appliances we have in our homes, right? Not even looking at the industry IoT devices. So it's quite, alarming, when you look at the amount of data that, I mean, the internet as a way holds the internet processes. I think that's a better word to put, processes in just 1 minute. About 2 million Snapchats are sent, right? So people have streaks they maintain with friends, with family. So just looking at this alone says a lot. So this basically gives some form of context into the amount of data on the internet. And with exposure of this data, especially these massive data, as you can see, right? There comes with it alongside cyber risk, right? So that's where cybersecurity comes in. There are threats to your data. So the probability that your bank card will be stolen or compromised is quite low if you don't use it on any platform. So it's either you've probably been very careless with it, but the moment you pay online, you place your data online, right? You increase or you expand, right, the potential attack surface, right? So looking at this internet age, everything we do, payment, paying for groceries, others, food, literally almost everything, banking, right? Everything has moved online, right? We share photos. We all registered for this session, right? We all clicked a link that could have been potentially malicious, right? But that's just, by the way. So now a lot of things are data stored everywhere on our computers, on our laptops, on our mobile devices, in the cloud, right? I'm sure a lot of times we hear the cloud, you're like, oh, is it the cloud we see up, right? It's just, basically some massive computers somewhere, holding this data. And the threat just keeps increasing, like the potential for the attacks to happen. And as almost every cybersecurity professional will tell you that a cyber threat or an attack is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? So it's not, will it happen to me? That's not the question you should be asking. The question we all should be asking ourselves is, when will this happen to me? And it's not a bad prayer, right? It's just the reality of where we are today in this internet age. And it's amazing, looking at how the threat landscape has grown over time. So just looking at this charts we have. So looking at the early 2000s, right? The first 10 years, what we typically have would be worms, botnets, trojans, those things you typically have on the desktops, old desktops, devices we would have or workstations we typically have, back then. Now moving into the next decade, right? We started seeing a lot of exploitation of weak configurations, man in the middle attack, phishing attack, ransomware. So exploitation, weak configuration. Basically, configurations are settings that an administrator, an admin, even an individual, right, has the ability to tweak to suit the purpose for which maybe you're trying to run a solution or you're trying to achieve something, right? So depending on what you're trying to achieve, you make those configurations. And sometimes because we are not too sure, we just leave certain things the way they are. For example, you purchase a device, right? The device comes with default password. You try the password that comes with it. The device works, and you're like, oh, good and fine. However, there is also a risk that your neighbor who has purchased the same type of device also potentially has exactly the same password for the same device, right? So the person can even potentially log in, make changes, even log you out, right? Man in the middle is basically saying, I'm trying to send a message to Abiodun, right? In the very layman understanding, there's someone in the middle that intercepts the message, right? So I've sent AB to Abiodun. However, someone intercepts the message or the traffic, right? Before it gets to Abiodun, changes it from AB to AC, right? Abiodun gets AC. At the end of the day, Abiodun believes I sent AC. Sometimes Abiodun still gets AB. However, it's maybe uppercase A, lowercase B. You know what I've sent. So, phishing attacks, I'm very sure we've all received emails. Oh, you've won lottery, you've won this. Ransomware. I think I'll just talk about that towards 2020 coronavirus came, a lot of phishing scams. Oh, work from home. You need to get this done. Vaccination this, vaccination that. So we started seeing a lot of remote working risk. So things we were not used to prior to COVID-19, where we all had to come to the office, we all had to do things physically with people. Now all of a sudden we realized, oh, I can do this from the comfort of my home, from the comfort of a coffee shop, right? Working from a coffee shop, I probably have to connect to their Wi-Fi, which is a free public Wi-Fi, right? Most likely, right? Also expanding or potentially exposing me to that risk. Now looking at 2022, 2023, just in the last 2 weeks, at least I've had maybe about 3, 4 cases of ransomware. Popular, very big banks, for example, in China, being attacked by ransomware. Ransomware is just the way it sounds, ransomware. So it's a ransomware is a malware, basically that attackers, if they're able to successfully execute, for example, in an enterprise organization, a bank, for example, right? They encrypt the data. So when I say encrypt, I mean they, in a very basic way, they lock it. So more like someone comes to your house, locks the door, takes the key away, puts, even before taking the key, puts a barricade, padlocks it, right? And drops a note that, oh, if you really want me to come open this door, you need to pay a certain amount. So now we see all that being pushed into cryptocurrency, just a lot of things happening. So a quick research by IBM that was conducted on data breach for 2023, came up with a very an interesting finding amongst a lot, one of which is that the average cost of data breach rose by 15%. So compared to the previous year. So typically what it will cost, when you quantify or you do an assessment of how much you've lost, in terms of data. Now we've seen an increase, a 15% increase. And obviously this threat is also, due to the fact that the attackers are not stopping, right? And also due to the fact that a lot of times we are also negligent, we are becoming more exposed, more dependent on the internet. You want to make a call, you want to order for food, you want to order a ride. Basically everything, we keep pushing, our data, right? Ransomware related breaches, have been identified to be the most costly, averaging 5.13 million USD. And this is excluding ransom payment. Now, some people eventually pay the ransom, some don't. We'll probably touch a bit into that. No, that is 89% increase from the previous year. Now, data breach ransomware, one increased. The cost of one increased 15%, another 89% in just 1 year. Now, looking at this, we can comfortably say, as organizations, right, as individuals, we need to become more responsible in how we manage, how we process data, how we protect data. So as an individual, if I'm banking with bank XYZ, right, I expect the bank is obligated to keep my data safe. So what should the bank do in this instance, right? The bank should get certified professionals to ensure that the bank does not fall victim, or the bank is also, the bank should also give me some form of security awareness on how, because sometimes the individuals are careless, right? So the bank should also, find creative ways, of ensuring that even in building security into your solutions, into your mobile applications, your web application, security is still enjoyable, right? It's still usable. So that's why sometimes you find out for some applications, before you log in, you sort of have to play maybe a game, right? So the mind sees it as a game, whereas it's more of a security checkpoint, as it were, right? Trying to confirm. Okay, I can see someone raised their hands. I'm sure we'll take questions. I think the name has popped off. Apologies, I'm sharing my screen, but no, I saw something. But don't worry, definitely we'll take questions at the end, right? So, looking at the roles where cybersecurity professionals come in, it's quite important and it's very pivotal. I would typically categorize this into two broad spectrums where we can play as cybersecurity professionals. So there's the aspect, where we're definitely trying to secure the organization. Ultimately, everything is still geared or positioned towards securing organization, right? However, there is also the umbrella where we look at regulatory compliance. Now, it's very important to realize and to note that because more people are getting online, we've been having a lot of attacks, a lot of news, a lot of breaches, a lot of threats, crystallizing over time. Now organizations, governments are coming together, putting bodies in place, right, to say, what, we need to ensure that things are properly checked. We need to ensure that, before an organization is licensed to be a bank, right, they have the right measures in place. Even when they do have the right measures in place, when they've received their license, we need to ensure that they keep at it, right? They maintain that level of comfortable security posture, if you call it that, right? So professionals act as frontline defenders, right? They help us implement strategies. Strategies are very important, right? Because you need to sit down to plan. You need to assess yourself. You need to understand your industry. You need to understand where you're playing. You need to understand who your targets are, right? So you need to sit down, right? You need to measure what is the criticality. So I would probably, not mind losing my AirPods compared to losing my phone, right? Because one is of more importance, right? One holds very critical data. So organizations need to be able to prioritize. You need to be able to, and even for you to be able to prioritize, it means you've sat down, right? You've done some form of assessment. You've identified what you have in your space. And that is when you can comfortably, come up with some form of matrix to say, what, this is what I have. I have this 10 assets, and this one is of more importance to me. I can afford to lose this. I can't afford to lose this. If I lose this, it becomes, a reputational. Just imagine, as we're on this session, we just see a tweet say, bank ABC has been hacked, and they start posting receipts on X, on Instagram. We start saying, oh, customer details, customer ban. There's just the panic, right? So organizations are, building their cyber defense, systems, ensuring that they're fortified as much as feasible. It's also very important to realize that the fact that something is safe today does not guarantee its safety tomorrow. So that's why security is not a it's very you probably not find a silver bullet. So what do I mean by silver bullet to security? In some aspects, maybe. So what a silver bullet basically is trying to find a simple, very simple, you know, scenario to explain. So basically, a silver bullet is that thing that can, I mean, you can always guarantee to say, if I apply this measure, it would always stop this, right? So it's just like the bouncer um, at the party, you're like, oh, this guy is buff, right? If someone like me, if I approach the guy will probably be able to stop me. So today, the guy appears to be a silver bullet in that instance, right? But if I keep going to the gym over time, keep going to the gym over time, and the guy, for example, stops going to the gym, a time comes where I'm probably not even intimidated, or probably when he sees me, he's probably even afraid to ask, "Oh, what are you doing here?" So, security, the fact that something is secure today does not in any way guarantee. It gives you the comfort that today, yeah, there's some form of safety, right? But we need to think beyond today. We need to think beyond now. We need to think far into the future, because as individuals, as organizations, we have a very pivotal, responsibility to keep our space, to keep our enterprises, our customers safe. Even your friends, your families. I mean, just being responsible enough in how we even conduct ourselves, right, online is very critical. So looking at the regulatory compliance aspect, we have, I believe a lot of us have heard of data privacy, a bit of GDPR, NDPR, data privacy. So things are becoming more regulated, because if you know regulations are not in place, then people tend to do things in an unstructured way, and it becomes difficult or more strenuous to be able to have a framework, where you can say, we did it this way yesterday. Now if we want to replicate that, what are the procedures we need to do, what are the things, measures we need to put in place, right? So there are organizations at the government level, at industry or sector levels, coming together to say what we really need to ensure that there's some form of policy, some form of standards, some form of frameworks, and there are a lot of them. NIST, ISO, PCI DSS. So PCI DSS is basically for payment card system. So any bank, for example, every bank, where you have to process some form of card details, right? You are expected to be compliant. So PCIDS has a sat back to say what, we need to look at some controls, right? We've identified and highlighted, this number of controls, and we believe, right, that if you are compliant, or if you've implemented these controls, then the probability that you get breached, or you get attacked, is reduced, not eliminated, is reduced, right? So it's important to be aware of even the regulatory compliance or requirements within your industry, or within your space. And it appears, a lot of this is speaking to organizations, but trust me, we'll get into where it applies as individuals, right? Because I also understand that not everyone on this call, not everyone has a security or IT background. Now, I want to be a cybersecurity expert. I want to be a cybersecurity consultant, whatever it is, right? But I don't know how to code. I don't like writing codes. I don't. I think it's just very amazing to see how a lot of cybersecurity professionals come, play their part, and in ensuring that the ecosystem is safer for everyone by the day, right? So I've highlighted a few. As I said, by no means is this exhaustive. Some persons will merge some of this that I've separated. Some will, separate what I've put as maybe a standalone. So what I'll just try to do in the next 10, 15 minutes is to walk us through each of this, and just to give a perspective that to become a cybersecurity professional, you it's good, to have the technical bit. It's also very okay and very fine if you don't. There are a lot of roles, right? A lot of reputable roles, right, that you can play in ensuring, a lot, looking at things around regulatory compliance. A lot of work goes into building frameworks, into building standards, building policies, building procedure documents, building. I mean, people basically need to sit down to say what if you do this, if you pick this, and you implement after A, you implement B. Hopefully, when you lift the next slate, all things being equal, you should see a C, right? So people have, they've done a lot of research, they've done a lot of work into ensuring that, we can pick Bank A, for example, in Brazil, and say, what, I also want to implement something very similar in South Africa, right? And we can just look at what are the peculiarities of this environment, what are peculiarities in Africa, what's the level of technological advancement, right? How feasible is it? So you really don't have to be very technical, but I mean, if you're technical, it's good. So the first one is security testing, and it appears that's my favorite domain, because that's where I've played um, I believe very interesting roles, because again, the way I see my work, um, if I consult for bank, banks are just very easy to use as examples. So pardon me.
I
So
was
if I
I was going to say that you mentioned banking a lot.
no, I think it's just because everybody here
It's
will most
relatable.
likely, yeah.
Yeah.
So if I consult for bank ABC, and my responsibility is to ensure that Bank ABC is secure enough for Abiodun, for Uluwatayo to keep their money, to store their data. And then you can go to bed knowing, oh, you had 10 million in your account, and you would wake up to your 10 million and not wake up to fraudulent alert, right? Um, in me ensuring that the bank is secure, I've also impacted you, whether you like it or not, right? So I see my work beyond, and that's the way cybersecurity professionals we see our work, we see our responsibility beyond our client, beyond our organization. It's always geared towards the customer. So you need to. So when you see cybersecurity professionals, just the same way we respect doctors, we respect, you also need to thank them, because a lot of brain work, a lot of energy goes into it, because you're basically trying to come up with scenarios to say, what, if the bad guy tries to do this, how do I stop it? Right. So the knowledge, it keeps increasing. So in security testing, we do a lot of things. We do VA. So that's what, if you've heard of VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing.
Okay.
Very simply, what that does is, or what we do in that is to say what, I pick a device, right, and I assess it to say what are the vulnerabilities. Now, what are vulnerabilities? Even things around misconfiguration. So, what are the potential loopholes in this application, in this device, in this whatever it may be? Now, the penetration testing aspect comes where you now try to exploit. So, when I say exploit, you try to see the feasibility of taking advantage, as it were, of that loophole. So, what we do in VAPT is basically to say what, you've built this application, and we try to break it. I think that's the word we use. We try to break it. We try to bypass. So you tell me, oh, I've so before you enter my estate, right, you need access code, and I'm thinking, okay, what if I pose as Uber driver? I hang around your house for 1 week. Probably, most likely, someone around your estate would make a request, give me the access code. Now I go into your estate on day one. I assess, oh, apart from the estate gate, are there security, lying around the houses, do they have individual security, right? I do that again. 3 days later, someone else makes a request, gives me the same access code. Now, you're already building some form of mapping, right? To say, oh, the code that was used on Monday is the same code that another person used on Wednesday. So most likely they use the code for at least 3 days, all things being equal, right? Based on your experiential knowledge. So in security testing, we come up with a lot of scenarios. We have use cases. We're basically trying to see what's the possibility of breaking what has been built. And the essence of trying to break it is to ultimately fix it before it falls into the wrong hands, right? So in
Yeah.
security testing, we do web applications, so the likes of internet banking, mobile application, USSD, APIs, you know, external application databases, basically just trying to test the effectiveness of security controls that have been put in place. Yes, even other cybersecurity professionals, other IT professionals have, over time, they've built and put in a lot of effort to ensure that, these things are safe enough, right? But what we also need to do is to ensure that it's safe today, and we also need to be able to put some form of, you know, um, guarantee, will it be safe tomorrow, right? So we keep doing that, and it's not just a one-off. You need, every organization, every individual needs to have this mindset. I'm safe today does not guarantee I'll be safe tomorrow. I'm safe at 5:42, 4:42 GMT time does not mean in the next 15 minutes my security exposure will remain the same. These things change. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, we've I'm sure they've probably used the buzzwords to to have conversations with you, or to trade in, right? They tell you, oh, chat GPT this and that. I mean, a lot of research has also gone into that, and it's also amazing seeing the risk. Yeah, not discarding the risk. It's also amazing to see how we can use these things to automate, right? So instead of me coming into my email every day to check my Gmail, to check maybe for news, and probably maybe I have like 10 news sources I check. People write no scripts, quick 10 lines, some hundreds of lines, right? Basically just trying to find a way to automate processes, so you don't have to keep going back manually to do the same thing. So when I wake up, I already have just a single email that summarizes everything from other emails, for example, right? So machine learning basically is just trying to pick experiences, trying to pick processes that we are currently aware of, and trying to embed it right into a tool, into a solution, right? Because it's, as it says, it's learning, right? Learning. So we keep feeding it with data. Oh, I do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The machine says, oh, this guy has gone out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On Saturday, the guy doesn't go to work. On Sunday, the guy doesn't go to work. The machine is wondering, okay, so today is probably not a Monday, probably not a Tuesday, and like that. So basically, with time, you're able to build the whole idea of process automation is just to shorten procedures, to shorten processes, to make things faster. And also in trying to do that, there are also security risk and threats, and cybersecurity professionals also come into play to ensure that what in building solutions, they are also safe and secure. Computer forensics, so something has happened, your you plug the flash drive to your system, there was a malware, there was some form of virus, right? And then we need evidence. We need to check, oh, what happened. So was it indeed the flash drive you plugged, or was it a file you downloaded from your Gmail? Was it a link you clicked from a WhatsApp group, right? Was it a page you visited on the browser? So computer forensics is basically going into the, as it were, the cells, right, of the computer. And when I say computer now, it does not necessarily, it's not restricted to like only laptops. laptops, desktops, and like servers, even your mobile devices, your phones, right? Just basically trying to get all the possible data logs and things like that to be able to pinpoint to say, what, this thing happened on the 2nd of December 2023 at this exact time, right? So basically being able to analyze evidence, some sort of digital evidence. Basically, that's it. Data privacy. We've heard of GDPR. Oh, you can't do this. You can't post. Interestingly, I wanted to post something yesterday, but I couldn't because other people were in the picture, right? And in some jurisdictions, I would require their consent to post it, right? So now, data privacy is becoming, not is becoming, it's a very big thing. Literally almost every organization is obligated, right? Is mandated. You need to be compliant. You need, if you are processing customer data, you need to be compliant with data privacy policies, right? If you are collecting data, customer data, right, you need to, if you're telling a customer, you know what, you've bought a shoe from me. Now, I've sold a shoe to you, right? I should leave it to, I collected your data because I wanted to sell a shoe to you. I should leave our conversations and our relationship as a way to just that. I shouldn't take advantage of that and then give your data, for example, to my sister company and that sells maybe bags, for example. So data privacy is becoming a very big thing. DevSecOps. So DevSecOps, basically what this is saying is, now we build security now. So development, so this has not a bit, quite, significant amount of, maybe technical depth in terms of maybe coding, understanding, the technological stack, right? Now there are also tools that operate in that space or in that domain. But what this is basically saying is ensuring that whatever tool, whatever solution, whatever platform you are building, you're giving to customers, enterprises, you ensure that security is built with it in mind. So basically you are embedding security from the beginning. So you don't, when you do security testing long enough, you find out that a lot of platforms, a lot of applications were built without security in mind. So it was along the way they realized, oh, there could be a possible threat. Now let's start embedding security. Now, in the process of trying to embed it, it means you probably have to dismantle the application, find a way to embed security, or you just put security at a particular point and it's not covering the entire, surface. So DevSecOps basically saying what, build in whatever you're building, in whatever you're trying to push out, whatever it is, build whatever you're trying to develop, whatever it is, build it with the security mindset, build it with security from the very beginning. Cloud security. We've all heard of AWS, Azure, GCP, right? Cloud. So yeah, I mean you can
you Temiloluwa, can you break those words down?
cloud security.
No. GD what?
GDPR.
Yes.
So that's general data privacy regulation.
Okay.
So so GDPR is it operates, so there are regions, EU countries, right, that you are required to be compliant. So in Nigeria, we have our own version of GDPR. We have something contextualized to Nigeria, for example. So certain regions have GDPR is what would apply generally to almost everybody. So, for example, even if you have a citizen of a particular country banking with Bank ABC, for example, right? Bank ABC does not have a branch in that region, but so far Bank ABC holds the data or processes the data of the citizen of that country, of that region, for example, right? There are certain requirements the bank needs to meet, right? If so, I think I'll link that back to cloud security. So, for cloud security, a lot of times we access information. You don't have all the data on your phone. You don't have every physical document on your phone. So there are times you just go to maybe a Google Drive, for example. You work on a document. Someone else somewhere is working on the same live document simultaneously, right? You have a lot of infrastructure. So now what some organizations are doing, most organizations, a lot of forward-thinking organizations actually, they are moving from what we call on-prem to cloud. So on-prem is, instead of having the physical servers, those big devices and workstations we have, right? We move and we operate in the cloud. So basically, we also know there are different reasons why people move to cloud, to cut cost, security reasons, also, things around latency, right? So you can also, expand at your own will. So if I purchase a laptop today, and it's 100 gig, right? And tomorrow I realize 100 gig might not be enough for me. I probably go to buy maybe another 100 gig. In some instances, they may be able to fit it into. So my system becomes 200 gig. Or peradventure, I bought 200 gig and I realized, oh, I probably don't need up to 30 gig. It means I've wasted some amount of, right? I'll say, oh, I could have bought something with less space, but I can't go back to return. But so there are cloud instances where you pay as you go, you pay for what you use, right? So now linking cloud back to data privacy. So if, for example, I have my cloud infrastructure outside of my region, it means I'm storing your data in another country, right? So, for example, there are what we call whitelisted, blacklisted. So, whitelisted, again, this is due to the regulatory compliance aspect of cybersecurity. What they've done is to say, you know what, looking at this region, looking at this country, if we keep customer data here, right, what's the probability that it will get breached? Or even if it does, right, are there regulatory compliance? Are there bodies, are there organizations that can take it up to investigate, right? Whereas there are some high risk environments or regions where maybe the regulatory body over time they've discovered it's might not be the best option, right? Keeping customer data in this kind of region. Security operations, incident response. It's quite linked. Some environments it's very it's they separate it as separate divisions, but they still work together. So what happens in security operations and incident responses? For security operations, a lot of things they're doing has to do with maybe monitoring, for example. So if you've gotten an alert, right, you didn't use your card, but you get a debit alert. If you are probably not in the habit of checking your phone or your mobile device, right, it might take a while for you to discover, right? So
True.
what you have again, so we have what we call the SOC, Security Operations Center. So what you find out most organizations do now is they have people that work 24/7. They work on shifts. So there are people monitoring, looking out for IOCs, indicators of compromise. It does not necessarily have to be a compromise. It might just be something that causes you to raise an eyebrow. Oh, Abiodun is trying to log in and she has imputed a password, wrong password, 4 times consecutively. So is there a possibility that Abiodun has misplaced their phone or phone has been stolen and someone is trying to log in, right? I mean, it's possible Abiodun genuinely forgot, right? I mean, I forgot my password to my phone about 3 weeks ago. And after several incorrect attempts, my teams got wiped off, right? So, there are things or there are people, just sitting back to understand, okay, this thing has also happened, right? How do I respond? How do I contain it, right? Even after containing it, how do I ensure that I pick my lessons from this and ensure that it doesn't reoccur, right? So incident response, something has happened, right? How do I respond basically? Who do I talk to? Um, do I talk to the press about it? Do I talk to my manager? Even having very granular things in the structure. That's why you see sometimes organizations, when they maybe have to make a tweet, for example, um, the structure, they choose their words very carefully, right? Because there's also the public perception. So when also do you respond? Someone says, oh, if the attackers probably didn't post it on Twitter, you wouldn't have informed us, right? As the bank that you were breached. Another bank says, you know what, before the attacker does that, I think to also, we've breached trust, right? But to also maybe maintain some level of um, trust, right? Remain in trust. Let's get to the customer first. Like, let's tell them, oh, we messed up, we got breached. So incident response has a lot to do in about communication plans. What are the basically, do you have a procedure in place? And even in all of this, yes, procedures, policies, everything, all good. But what we also need to do is to constantly test, constantly check. Remember, I said the fact that you're secure today does not mean you will be secure
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's
Yes.
it just takes someone to say what, oh, this door is locked. I can't get in. Another person says, you know what? Have you tried the window? Right? And you realize, oh, someone just left the window unlocked from within, and the guy goes in. Or someone says, oh, you can have you tried the roof? I mean, so there are like different ways. So security is continuous. It's not a silver bullet. Like, you need to keep moving. You need to keep evolving. You need to keep advancing, because the threat landscape keeps increasing. We keep finding out new things, new vulnerabilities every day. Threat intelligence, threat hunting, very also quite similar. Has some similarity, maybe not exactly similarities, right? But it also has to do with you find out that there are some modules, as it were, from security testing, security operations, incident response. That is very key to threat intelligence, threat hunting. So you are going out there to actively look. So you're not just sitting down to say, "I believe I'm secure," right? If an attack happens, I believe I'm safe, right? You are going out there to say what are the attacks happening out there? As bank A, if something has happened to bank B, you're trying to understand, am I also exposed, right? If bank B has been attacked today, there's a probability that the attacker, maybe not the same attacker, but maybe the group of attackers, right, can also come for similar organizations, right? So you need to constantly look out, constantly be on the lookout. One, you need to understand your environment. You need to understand the threats that are peculiar to your industry, that are also peculiar to you as an organization. Some threats are peculiar, not just based on the organization or the sector you play in. Some are also peculiar to your location, right? So the organizations that have their headquarters, for example, or they have their branches in regions where maybe you have oil wells, and maybe those are also maybe prone, for example, to maybe militant attacks, for example, right? So there are certain threats you need to constantly be on the lookout for. You need to go out. You need to go out, look out for them, and also put controls in place to ensure that they before they come knocking, you're also guarded, right? I'll also be talking about GRC. So we've heard of GRC. GRC is governance, risk, compliance. So this is actually quite broad, very broad. Some aspects of GRC, some people will tell you, oh, some aspects of GRC, you need some technical, maybe hands-on. Some will tell you, oh, for what they do in the organization. Again, it depends on the context of your organization. It depends on how you've decided to break or to pattern the structure, right? But basically, GRC is saying, you need to have like an overarching governance in what you do. You need to be able to identify basically, all your process points, all your endpoints. You need to have you know, so many things around. You need to have a leadership that also stays. And it's very important to mention that the cybersecurity on its own does not run alone. So it's a relay race, right? So cybersecurity is running along with the business. So the business has its objective, right? The objective of the business is to provide the bank is to provide services to the customers, right? Provide get more customers, increase revenue, have a brand structure, right? That when you see this, when you think about this, oh, you think of this particular bank, right? So cybersecurity also comes to play in ensuring that the business is able to meet those goals, those objectives in a secure way, in a safe manner, right? In trying to get across to your customers, right? You're also doing it safely. So a lot of their compliance, standards, frameworks. We have ISO, NIST. ISO even has there are different standards, different for different things, for different organizations in different sectors. So we have the ones for that are specific to maybe IT and maybe service management. You have the ones that are specific to business continuity. So there's just a lot organizations are doing, in that sphere, in that space. So I believe, it's almost impossible to realize that we have so many domains, and as I said, this list is not exhaustive. So
Yeah, you
different
mentioned.
organizations have it broken down. So in security testing, for example, you can have 4 5 experts in security testing doing 4 different things. So someone can be a mobile application specialist, someone can be a web application specialist, someone can be infrastructure, right? It
Okay.
depends. So it's
You're
it's
talking
actually
about the talent gap already in cybersecurity.
technically, yeah. So
Yes.
when we go to that, you realize that there's actually an opportunity, and I think it's just unfair for you to think that you need to have very technical. Weirdly enough, for some reason, I just like the technical part of what I do.
But you
The-
mentioned that you don't need to know. We don't need to know how to write a single line of code at the beginning
Uh,
of the session.
yes. So
Okay.
to play in certain roles, right? So there are certain. So for example, data privacy, you don't need to. It's not what's the word? It's not it's not the icebreaker, for example. If you don't, you can still play very well in that space, right? But as I said, it's always good to have both the governance, and also to have, the technical bit of the work, because it also helps you when you're also engaging with people managing the processes. You also understand the business part of it. You understand the operations part of it, right? So when you're able to marry both, it just naturally makes you a better person, right? Makes you a better consultant, makes you a better professional generally in whatever you do. So there are different aspects, right? Some aspects you definitely need technical bit. So I do quite a bit of different parts of different aspects
Okay.
by virtue of maybe clients I have to work with. But I think if I'm to choose today, I'll probably still choose the technical part. Um, Again, because sometimes there's a lot of research, a lot of documentation. Um, so yeah. So just looking at this, um, the workforce gap has increased by 26.2% compared to 2021. That was a study, cybersecurity workforce study conducted by ISC2 last year, and comparing 2022 and 2021. the talent gap increased. So it means there are more roles that are vacant, and there are also new roles coming up. Because as regulatory compliance organizations, as they keep coming up with these things, they also see the need for security professionals to play in certain roles. So this also creates, that space, right? So it has also, created a lot of job opportunities, job openings. So don't be restricted to think, oh, it's only technical. When you think of cybersecurity, you think of this guy wearing this black hoodie. Yeah, I mean, there are those days, right? Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there are days I'm like that guy in a jean and right a shirt, and there are days I'm like that guy in like a proper suit. There are days I'm like that guy in a trad. So don't let what we see online or on TV, right? You can trust me. All you just need to do is to get started, right? So someone is asking, how do I begin a career in cybersecurity?
Yes. Yes.
um, this list is not exhaustive. There are a lot of materials, a whole lot of materials, a whole lot. But I think these are very, you know, good pointers, right? So there's what we call certified in cybersecurity, ISC2. So ISC2 is the organization. They they're in charge of that certification. So basically, what it does is it gives you some form of foundational knowledge. There's also the CompTIA. There's CompTIA Security Plus, network. I mean, they're just so many things you can start with, and you don't have to be overwhelmed, right? You just need to sit down to assess yourself. What are the skills I have today? What are the skills I would want to gain tomorrow, right? What do I need to do to gain those skills, right? For some, just taking some courses online, certifications is good enough to start. For some, you need the practical work experience, so some form of maybe internship, because the industry, maybe opportunities in those industry, maybe it's quite lean, right? And having there's really nothing like having hands-on experience. Um, but back to what we, I mean, there's the so for someone that says, "Oh, I want to be a security testing expert," um, there are no platforms. There's Vulnerab, there's Hack the Box, there's TryHackMe. So what they've done is to say, you know what, we would create, or we've created applications, we've created platforms that are vulnerable, that so based on the threats we've seen over time, we've created some form of simulated environment where you can go and you test your knowledge, you try to bypass. So I have Abiodun's username. How do I get Abiodun's password so that I can log in into a mobile application, right? Oh, I eventually get Abiodun's password because I'm very smart. I'm just this very bad guy. But now trying to log in, I realize, oh, there's a there's what we call MFA, multi-factor authentication. So, well, maybe OTP, for example, right? And what's in my mind is, oh, I don't have the OTP, but how can I get the OTP? So is this sending the OTP to Abiodun's phone number or Abiodun's email address? If you send it to Abiodun's email address, do I know Abiodun's email address? Do I know the password to our email? If you're sending to a phone number, how can I? Remember, we mentioned the man in the middle. How can I play that role as the man in the middle, right? So there are just so many things you can do. There are so many platforms out there. Someone says, "I want to be a cloud expert." I mean, I have friends and colleagues that are cloud security expert, and I mean the very popular ones: AWS, Amazon, Azure, and cloud and Google. Apologies, yeah, GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So those are like the top three guys in the industry. We also have an organization called OneTrust. OneTrust, recently they've been providing a lot of trainings for around data privacy. Trying to, even as an individual, they try to help you understand your rights. So I'm sure. Okay. Someone is asking a question.
Okay.
I'll answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
we are going to take questions very shortly. I'm just waiting for Temiloluwa to wrap up so that we
yeah.
can. So I'm sure a lot of people have so many questions relating to their day to day life, and then also I'm sure some entrepreneurs they're thinking of how to secure their
Their
businesses. Right?
business is very
Please get
important.
your questions ready. We'll take them very
So,
shortly.
so One Trust has been doing a lot of trainings recently around data privacy. I am is identity and access management, right? Looking at, Abiodun wants to access something. Is the Abiodun who she says she is? Even if she says she's who she says she is, um, does she have the right, or does she have the permission to access what she's trying to access, right? For the period she's trying to access it. You also have platforms like Udemy, Audacity, Plural Site. There's just a lot, and it's very it can get overwhelming. Trust me, even as a professional that works, that does this, daily, right? Because the landscape keeps moving. Some five 4 5 years ago, cloud security was, yeah, the concept was already, here and there, but it wasn't as big as it is today. Artificial intelligence wasn't as big as it is today. Right now, you realize a lot of organizations completely even have all their infrastructure in the cloud, right? So how do you test it? It means you also need to be aware of the technologies, the technology stack, all these things are built upon. Seek internship. I understand and acknowledge that the opportunity for internship is not always out there, right? But you also need to seek internship, because you would always get, it's I mean, having the experience, having the opportunity to work in a live environment is also, it just helps your career trajectory, not only in cybersecurity but generally. um, just to put this disclaimer, right? As cybersecurity professionals, whatever you do, you need to ensure that you you have a signed agreement, not verbal, not it has to be documented, because things happen, people leave organizations, and you need to have a document that indemnifies you, that says, oh, you were authorized to do this, right? So even in trying to test, so now when we see things like vulnerable back the box, these guys have built these platforms specifically. They've made it vulnerable purposely, just so you could test, for the purpose of testing, for the purpose of education, right? In trying to explore, in trying to do things, don't go around. For example, say, oh, I bank with these guys, I have their mobile application, so let me test. They come back biting, right? Because they didn't authorize you to do that. They will see you as an attacker, as a malicious threat actor. And we've seen people, face very dangerous repercussions. Also get mentors, right? There are people in cyberspace. I have colleagues, senior colleagues that I can always reach out to, just to also understand. Oh, someone says, oh, I'm in this region, and there's this new technology, there's this new standard, there's this new policy, right? It might not be applicable in your region yet, but over time, these things cascade down. And just the very last slide, before we take questions. As individuals, we all have passwords. Now, um, as a business owner, I just think it's just imagine you use the same key for your car, to your house, to your safe, and the same key can open 10 doors, right? And you misplace the key. and someone has access to that key, automatically, right, it means the person potentially has access to those 10 doors, right? So one is, I mean, even beyond long and complex password, I think don't try as much as don't try. Best practices, you should not use the same password across different platforms. So if someone is trying to, if someone has access to, for example, your Gmail, and you've used the same password for your Facebook, your Outlook, your Yahoo Mail, your Instagram, your business, maybe tax portal, for example, it means you've increased your, you've become more exposed, right? So passwords, ensure that they are long and complex, not too complex that you can't remember. There should be passphrases, things you can remember. So maybe a sentence, and then you change a few things, here and there. Avoid guessable information. Don't use your birthdays, your middle name, your mother's maiden name. I mean, we've seen situations where someone says, "Oh, they start a thread to say what oh, drop location of where you grew up and where you are now." And someone says, "Oh, I grew up in Lagos. Now I'm in Canada." Someone said she was joining from Canada at the beginning, right? And probably one of your secret questions for maybe your banking application, you've said, "Oh, maybe where I grew up." Now, your password gets compromised, and the person is being asked, "Oh, so where did you grow up?" The person probably just goes to your Facebook, your Instagram, checks through and sees a few things. Oh, you've engaged in some threads in the past. You've given out this information free of charge. As at that point in time, it wasn't necessarily a big deal as well. But now it has, given someone access. Implement or enable 2FA. 2FA, two-factor authentication. So there is what you know, what you,
Sorry
there's
to
what,
interrupt you,
yeah,
Temiloluwa. Yeah, our time is fast spent.
great.
So, and we have so many questions, popping
Yeah.
already. Like, we have
All right. So
raised
I'll
hands
wrap up
and
in
all
two
that.
minutes if that's fine.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So
Thank you.
um, there's what you know, there's what you have, there's who you are, right? Who you are. For example, it can be your fingerprint, your facial recognition. What you know is your password. What you have can be your token. So using the combination of this reduces your probability that you get breached, right? Use regularly change your passwords. In some organizations, you change your password every 30 days. Some people change their passwords every 1 week. Some people use the same passwords they've using for their phones. For the last, you change your phone 3 times using the same password. It's a very terrible habit. Please change it. So I want to talk about securing personal and financial information. I think we've said a lot about that. Defense in depth. So defense in depth is basically saying what? Layered security. So just imagine you have a gold bracelet in your room, right? Defense in depth is saying before you get to that bracelet, there should be layers of security. So you should have estate gates. If someone has entered your estate legitimately, you should have perimeter fence. You should have a door. Even in your house, you should have a door to your room with a different kind of lock. In your room, you should probably have maybe a small vault, for example. So the defense in depth is saying, even if you break layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, probably. So these layers have different names, right? The tech stack as well. But when you break it, your crown jewel as well, or your prized asset or data is still to some extent secure. Social engineering, be aware, verify information before we give it out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
I
so much.
guess I'll take a lot of
Thank
questions
you.
now.
All right.
Oh,
So
thank you.
someone asked earlier, what's the difference between a white hat hacker and a cybersecurity professional? I believe he mentioned something about that. I wondered if the person was listening.
Okay. So
But before you answer the
okay.
questions,
So let me
very
just take note
quickly,
of that. Yep.
I want us to wrap up by 6:30 latest.
Yeah.
So I'll just try maybe keep the answers very short.
All right. For security testers, for example, we have different testing methodologies: black box, white box, gray box. So white is basically white is clean as it were. So white is saying, oh, you are the good guy. You've you found you are trying to test something not with a malicious intent, right? You're trying to basically say what I found this and I'm reporting it so that you can fix it. The guy with the black hat is saying, you know what, I have a different opinion. If I find something and I feel like I can take advantage of it, for example, maybe for financial gain or for whatever, I will do that. But when you now look at security testing, we have black box, white box, gray box. So black box, for example, someone says, you know what, black box testing, I want you to simulate a real attack scenario. So I'm not giving you anything. Just if someone wants to attack me, how would they do it? But white box, says, oh, you know what? White box testing approach says what? Oh, I have this application. It's running iOS. This. It was built using Java. Now the person is already giving you information to help build your case or your scenario. So so that's the testing approach. But the white hat and cybersecurity professionals. So cybersecurity professionals are not only security testers. So as I mentioned, so there are security testers,
Yeah.
and then there are people that do different things: cyber strategy, maturity assessment, compliance, governance, risk. So someone's wearing a white hat to only apply largely on the security testing. Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Interestingly, that person was asked by Anonymous. All right.
Oh,
All right. So Esther asked, thank you, Temiloluwa and Technetics, for this session. It is an eye opener to understanding the importance of cybersecurity in today's world. However, I'd like to know how cybersecurity professionals and product managers work together to ensure user security when building a digital product.
thank you. So I mentioned DevSecOps. DevSecOps, basically, you're trying to build security from the scratch. There's also the concept of, I remember just now, secure by design. Yeah, that's it. So secure by design says, build security from the scratch. So cybersecurity professionals and product managers, you need to, before you push out a product,
Yeah.
you need to understand, your user requirements, the target audience. What's the objective of this, right? Is it just to put a product out there to compete with my competitors, right? Am I trying to achieve something different here? Am I trying to push a new niche, right? So cybersecurity professionals and product managers need to work hand in hand, because in trying to build your product, the security professionals also need to ensure that security is embedded right from the beginning. As I mentioned, security also has to be usable. So you need to come up with creative ways. So that's why you find out sometimes some applications with instead of having, you don't have to remember the very long passwords, right? Just use a fingerprint, use right facial recognition. So you're embedding security at the same time you're making the application of the platform usable. So product managers definitely and cybersecurity professionals need to work together to ensure that security is built right from the beginning. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. Please, everyone, thank you for being a part of this webinar. Please take a few minutes to fill our post webinar survey. Take a few minutes. All right. I'll take Peace. You raised your hands. Go for it. Peace, Shoyinka. Are you here? Okay, maybe it was a mistake. All right. Joshua. I can see Joshua Uchechuku. Joshua. Okay.
I'm here. Good evening, everybody.
All right. Good evening.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
we
hear
can
you.
just.
Um, my, apologies, I joined late. There was something I wanted to ask because it was my friend who referred me to the meeting. For someone who started up, who started up his tech journey with cybersecurity and has finished and is now an IBM cybersecurity analyst,
Yeah.
and then looking for clarity on the next thing to do for him to probably be employable
Yeah.
What?
Okay. All right. So one is I mean you mentioned IBM security analyst. So that is also vendor specific. So we have different vendors. You mentioned IBM. There's Oracle. You know, a lot of different guys. So what you also need to do is to look at what's the content of what the course, the module I took, right, and how relevant is it to what I want to do. We also need to look for communities. There are tech communities where, I mean, some communities where they share certain opportunities that I don't have the skills for, right? So, but there are people that have the skills. You get my point? Just because they are in the community, so you need to look out for those communities. And also, while waiting, you need to get things doing. You need to build your profile, build your portfolio. All right. I know of people who just in their 1 year of internship or 1 year of NYC, they've done a lot and they've built their portfolio. And employers are willing to break protocol for them. To be honest, you, you they just because they need you. They get my point. So while you're waiting, just get something doing while you're waiting. I think also belong to look out for communities. Very very important. Very important. Yeah. But you
All right.
always get the opportunities will come along the way. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joshua. Temiloluwa, we had this question since. Sorry, how does SIM swapping happen?
Um, so SIM swap, it's not necessarily SIM swapping. So they're just tools. They are ways where you probably maybe intercept the traffic. Um, I'm trying to answer like more questions in 3 minutes. So we have the client side, the server side. So when you input, so we know this input forms username password. So when you input your username and you input your password and you click the submit button, right? There's a form of exchange that happens. So someone can intercept that traffic, and if, for example, it's not encrypted, the traffic is not encrypted, it means I can see everything in clear text. Just some applications are built in such a way whereby you can tweak man in the middle, you can tweak or tamper with the parameters, tamper with the headers. I You can potentially, I've seen it before. I've seen it, yeah. So don't let me say it has happened. Yeah, I've seen applications where you can tweak, for example, the email address or the phone number from the header, right? You pass the application and the OTP, for example, goes to the new number. So you just need to know the right tools, have the right solutions. Yeah, the fact that I said it's not possible today does not mean it's only possible tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Temiloluwa.
Thank
Once
you.
again, please take time out to answer our poll. All right. This one is from Samuel. What are the risks of becoming a cybersecurity expert for a cybersecurity expert? Did you get that?
No, I'm
The
not sure
risk,
I got it.
the risks of becoming a cybersecurity.
I'm not sure I got it, but I think it.
That'll be like a downside to your.
So I don't think there's a. It's not necessarily like you just basically need to be very sure what you're doing. Do you get my point? You just need to be very sure what you're doing, right? As I said, everything you do, you need to ensure that you you have a signed contract. You don't just go about testing things that you're not authorized to test. So because a cybersecurity professional today can also end up as a threat to themselves tomorrow. So yeah, I'm not sure I got the question very well, but yeah.
I think I'll just put it as like a downside. What are the downsides of
He
it?
has raised his hand. Maybe he should
Okay,
have
Samuel.
completed.
Okay,
Samuel,
please go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah,
So,
good
very
evening.
quick, I'm just asking, yes, like Abiodun said, the downside, yes, for example, for instance, you're working for a bank, you're handling their security, and there's like something
I get you
goes
now.
wrong. Yeah,
I get you now. Yeah.
thank you.
So you need to also understand the environment in which you're working. There are processes, there are procedures. Uh, you always need to follow procedures. You always need to follow processes. So the fact that you are, for example, you're doing something, you're trying to help a customer has called, oh, I'm trying to pay this fees. If I don't pay it in the next 10 minutes, I lose my Canadian admission, for example. And because you have very good at, right, you just go ahead without verifying. I mean, you just need to follow procedures, right? It's very, very important. Also, for artifacts reasons, your procedure, your email trails, all those things. It's very they just act as logs, things you can always refer back to. What this happened at this time, I escalated. Did the next person take it up? I think that conversation can happen. But did you see it and did you look away? For example, there's what we call non-repudiation. So non-repudiation says, if someone has sent you something and you received it, you can't deny it that you received it. Someone says, but I can deny that I didn't see it. No, there are ways we can prove that indeed you received this, indeed you opened this mail. If I can tell you opened this mail on this laptop by this time. So, I mean, it's also very important to understand the space you are working in, understand the established processes and procedures, and please follow them. And when you're not comfortable because it appears that maybe things are not being done right, please speak up. Again, that's why we have regulatory bodies, sometimes even outside of the organization, where you can just make your complaints. But yeah, you don't want to find yourself in the middle of internal or insider crossfires. Very important. Thanks for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Temiloluwa. Please connect with Temiloluwa Joko to her on LinkedIn.
Okay, I think I have that here. Let me share that.
Please share your
Yeah.
Connect with Temiloluwa on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for an insightful time.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that joined.
last minute
Okay.
wish and Adeola Ogunsi. Very quickly. Adeola, are you here? Okay. There was somebody else.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. Temiloluwa, thank you very much. I just wanted to I'm not sure. I think I missed. I'm not sure if I missed it. If somebody that's not in cybersecurity wants to transition into cybersecurity, is there any? What advice do you have?
So there are very platforms you can check out. I think I've stopped sharing. But there are platforms you can check out. We have ISC2. If it's cloud, you have AWS. Maybe for some of this, you even have the foundational courses, the intermediate. And as I also said, you don't, especially if you don't have maybe a tech background, you don't have to start off as from a technical domains, right? Maybe the incident response, security testing. You can start off from, for example, GRC compliance, understanding NISTs, ISO frameworks, data privacy, right? It's always good to have those as maybe things you can start off. And if you feel you want to move into the technical part, why not? We've seen people that never had technical background doing very extremely well. So yeah. So you just need to understand, you need to ask yourself, where do I want to play? What space? Cybersecurity is large, is wide. I'll tell you that for free. There are people who call SMEs, subject matter experts. There are also people called generalists. You need to ask yourself, do I want to become a generalist? At what point do I want to transition from being a generalist to an expert? Whereby if they call me in this, I can resolve, troubleshoot anything basically. So not every part of cybersecurity or aspect of cybersecurity is technical. There are parts you can start with, not technical. That's to do with standards, policies, frameworks. Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and I
All
mean you
right.
can reach out on LinkedIn and I can maybe just point you in the right direction.
Oh, thank you so much, Temiloluwa. Temiloluwa has given us a free. All right. So you connect with him on LinkedIn. He's ready to be a mentor, right? Okay. So thank you, everyone. Can I still take this? Ibukun Oluwa, the very last one. Ibukun Oluwa, please. Let's have you. That will be the last one, please. Ibukun, are you here? Ibukun Oluwa. Okay. All right then. So thank you so much, everyone, for a wonderful time. Thank you for joining. Techlitics, we're very passionate about professional development. We have a data analytics class coming up on January 13th, starting in January. You can register at techlytics.ng. All right. The link is also in the chat box, in the chat section. You also have the link. So early bird price, then we have yes, early bird price, and then also all the things that you gain when you register: proficiency in Power BI and Microsoft Excel, preparedness for Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst Associate certification, problem solving skills, where the confidence to ace any data analytics interview. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Temiloluwa Jokotola. Thank you for giving us
Thank
access
you
on.
for having me.
I
Thank
hope when
you.
we call again, you will answer us. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It was a very insightful time. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. You can follow us on our social media pages on X, Instagram, on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, and have a lovely weekend ahead. Bye bye.
Thank you, Abiodun. You can stop sharing your screen.